The Truth here, Victor Valdez with you here live post-game. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Victor, another story. It's this Mike Tomlin defense. Again, the most expensive defense, again, in football. Just getting absolutely torched. And getting torched when it matters the most. I mean, Jordan Love at a point in this football game. 20 straight completions. I don't want to hear about the offense and sort of them having a bit of a lull in the second half. The DK Metcalf penalty was incredibly stupid, and that was a drive killer. Absolute shame on him for doing that. Absolute shame.
But you're up 19-14 to start the fourth quarter.
Yes.
There's no reason why they scored almost 20 points on you in one quarter. Just end it. You were up 19-14 to start the fourth.
They outscored you. They scored the first 21 points of the quarter.
And here's the concerning part about this season that's starting to bother me is that I think there's a clear talent discrepancy on the perimeter. However, they're still averaging, I know it was a garbage time, but they're still averaging at least 24 points a game, 24, 25 a game. You know, I think there's years where we've looked at this team and it's like, gosh, they can score 22, 21 points, they're going to win. I mean,
they're scoring 25 and 31. And losing, yes. They are losing because of all of this. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, like I said, I know people are going to talk about certain individual players, but to me, when all the money is allocated
to the defense, and you're just getting absolutely torched in every facet of it, I don't know what else to say. You're getting absolutely torched on defense, and you have the most expensive defense by a mile. Here's the thing. You have the most expensive defense by a mile, and it's the worst one by a mile.
Yep. It just feels like it's, like I said, I will say, they played a darn good first half. They even played good into the third. I have to go, unfortunately. Hold on.
But the Steelers, though, everybody, it's just not good enough on the defensive side of the ball. They've gotten shredded by Flacco. They just got shredded by Matt LaFleur. And it doesn't look really good when you got Shane Steichen and the Colts coming down next week. It just does not look good at all. This defense is horrific, and I don't see how it's going to get any better. Like, not at all. Awful, awful, awful again on Mike Tomlin. Awful.